Alright, hello YouTube, this is Problematic Boy. This is going to be the sort of more comprehensive. I've leveled, to almost 96. I've done T8 Traveler. I've done, you know, the things that I like to do on my characters, and I'm very satisfied. So, oh, sorry. Oh, goodness. This isn't necessarily a guide, but this will be an overview in case you want to do it. I'll go over everything comprehensively. And of course, as usual, you can, ask any questions that you want in the comments, and I'll try to answer what I can. First things first, I'll talk about a little bit how I rate the build. I love Groundshaker, so I ended up getting the skin for it because that's basically all I play. So, how would I rate it? There's really a few things that characters do right. There's mapping, there's bossing, and there's Path of the Brave. So, and I think that mapping kind of gets split into like, are you going for XP and T7s, or are you doing that, or are you like farming T8s, you know, trying to get a good card set up, maybe for the last 1 to 3 maps, encompassing them as much as you can, or as much as you really want to, and then doing those for FE, right? Those are the two kinds of mapping. And there's bossing, which includes invitations and Traveler, T8, and I guess T7, but T7 is pretty easy. And then POB, which is Path of the Brave, the arena combat. So I'm going to go into a T7, talk a little bit how I rate the build in terms of those 4 categories. There's 2 mapping categories and then the 2 other categories here. Right now, I should say that what you're going to see in this demonstration is a version of this build that is geared almost completely towards getting XP. So I even my talent choice, my third talent choice is Warlord. Normally you would go Warlock for a lot more damage, but I'm going Warlord just for extra stacks to be a little tankier. I mean, the stacks do give us damage as well, but also a bunch of area. So it's just a bunch of area, and that's basically what we're doing here. As you can see here, we only have our Groundshaker 4 linked, and we're going all in on our leap, right? Getting the crit, getting the precision strike, the deep wounds, the harden. So this is all set up just for T7 XP farm, and I'll talk about how the other versions of this build perform. But if you're just going for, you want to get a bunch of XP, right? You want to either hit 96, 97, whatever goal, what your goal is, right? You want to get in there, have the gear, and where was I going? I was doing Steel Forge. So I'll go into Beast Plains here. I'm not going to roll it, of course. We're just doing these naked T7s. And I'll show off. So when it comes to this level, at least for me, how quickly you can do these and how efficiently, how tanky you are in the T7s. There's really like no fear of dying. I haven't died really once since I've put the setup on and went for 96. No revival tokens used. Just you mostly just leap through the map. Anything that doesn't die, you hit your right click on, and it dies very fast. This is basically the weakest damage portion of the build, but it's optimized for speed, right? And I'd say for me, it's great, right? The tankiness, the speed, the damage, the bosses pretty much die very quickly, and then you get out of your map and you go to your next map. So that's sort of how that goes. And since that's what my character is put up for right now, and I don't really want to respect my talents and all that, that's what you're gonna. That's basically the gameplay section of this video. Like, that's what you see. That's how this build with this gear performs doing that kind of content. Now, the other content you're just gonna have to take my word for. I've streamed it all, so I guess there's that. But when you have even this version of the build can T7 Traveler, right? I did T7 Traveler on this with this setup, so it's fine. I did T7 Guardians on this setup. I think I've even done some I think I did a T8 Guardian on it, but this that's that, right? So let's talk about the other things that it does. T8 mapping for FE. Okay, let me just give the rundown of these categories so you understand what the build is good at. T8 mapping for FE, I think it's average. It does the job. It gets the job done. You are sort of at the mercy of your divine realm. So in the divine realm, we are extremely tanky. We're very tanky. We have, well, more than that, 17 tenacity stacks, and we'll have them while we're doing the T8 map. Once you're in the realm, you have 17 tenacity stacks. When you're out of the realm, you have 13 agility stacks, and you're really fast. As far as the T8 mapping goes, I wouldn't run a 4-link Groundshaker. I would 6-link my Groundshaker, go back to a 3 or 4-link leap attack, and then probably have Warlock on. The reason I'm not doing that right now is because I want to make a few gear upgrades. I want to get 2 more tenacity stacks so that I have those. So basically Warlord is 3 extra tenacity stacks. I want to get at least 2 more on my gear and then drop Warlord for Warlock to have the damage, and then I'll go back to T8 mapping. There's no real gear change or anything like that. It's just sort of a talent and skill swap. I'd say it's average and it gets the job done. You'll be able to compass. I've compassed just fine, doing 4 compasses. Yeah, it's pretty. It gets the job done. Nothing really to write home about. It's not super fast. It's not super slow. It kills the thing. It kills the map bosses very quickly, and that's where I want to go into the bossing and in the invitations. Now, my personal experience is that I can kill T8 Traveler with the Warlock setup, with the damage setup, right? Not the speed clean setup. And I can face skip the part that you can face skip, right? If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, where he doesn't do that combination of attacks that he does, right? So we do that, and we kill him very quickly. I killed basically T1, the Law Bearer guy. I think since I've tried only T2 once on another build, but I sort of understand T2, I think I could probably kill it on this character with doing some mechanics. I'm not exactly sure. But invitations isn't really something I focus on anyway. Like, it's not something that I do as a player. I like killing T8 Traveler and killing the T8 Guardians, but I don't really focus on invitations. But T1, we smash them, right? T1 Lawberry smash. I don't know about Pirate. I don't do Pirate. I sell my stuff. And Keegan, I want to try Uber Keegan because apparently I think I can do him pretty quickly. But I currently don't have the FE, and I don't want to spend something on it that I don't know. So next time I farm up 4 invitations or get a Doom, I'll save it and we'll try Uber Keegan. But I think Uber Keegan is pretty, from what I've heard and what I've seen, we've got plenty for him. So I'll keep an update on that. I'll post a pinned comment if I can do Uber Keegan, which I think I can. But just saying that. So the bossing is excellent. I would say excellent. About as good as the XP mapping. Speed mapping. I think that the bossing is very good. When you're in a situation, right, when you're bossing in the Traveler arena, this goes down. You're very tanky inside of it. You smash your Groundshaker. You have your curse up. You're just doing a ton of damage. So the highest reap that I've seen so far, reap is when it's taking off the dot because of reap purification and settling the reap plus 80% of the duration of the damage, is 4.9 billion. That's with a B, so almost 5 billion we have reaped with our Warlock setup, and then it's going to be even better because we're going to have 2 extra tenacity stacks and be on that same setup when I get back to it. Stop farming for XP, right? I don't know. I think I'm in love with the build, so I'm probably not going to stop at 96. I might go to 97. We'll see where our dreams take us. So that's how I rate the build. TLDR, speed mapping, very good. T8 farming, okay. And I gotta talk about POB. Tape farming, okay. Bossing, excellent. As long as you meet those damage thresholds, the feel of bossing is extremely good. And then finally, POB, Path of the Brave. I haven't quite tested on this tanky, on this like speed clear setup with area of effect, but I don't really like Path of the Brave on this build. I have a Moto that does it, I think, a lot better. Unlike a boss arena where this covers a decent amount of the arena and the bosses don't move too much, like you get this on top of the boss and you smash. POB is a lot wider and it's almost like the arena is just bigger and it requires you to sometimes dodge things that you're not sure or move. And I haven't really taken a fair look at POB. I'd say when I did try POB, this build was a lot weaker and it felt really bad. So and I did make some changes to make the build stronger, but it just did not feel good. Since I last tried POB, we've gotten a lot tankier. So maybe it feels better now, but I'd sort of stay away from POB. Stay away from POB. Get another character for POB if you want to do POB. On the other hand, maybe I try it again and make a comment, and suddenly POB is good. Okay, but that's the sort of weakest part of the build, I think, is Path of the Brave, just because of the way the arena is and how you want to be in your realm. And while mapping the realm is fairly smart, it can be it can be smart or it can be bad. Sometimes I'm running around in a teammate map and I'm wondering where's my freaking realm so I don't get one shot or something. And sometimes it just does exactly what you want it to do. So yeah, I'd say we get an average experience in 2K maps as long as you can get to the boss. You delete it, and that's just the way it goes. So that's sort of the content rundown, which is probably what you want to hear. Now for the budget rundown, I'll talk about the necessary items that you need for the build, and then we'll move on to the big explanations. How does the build work? What skills am I using? What talents? I'll do a slow paint of all the talents and the hero trait and all that good stuff. Memories, relic. So budget, you need. Okay, this is minimum requirement. You need a hunting blade with 100 base trauma per every stack of tenacity blessing. You need 2. Okay, you need 1 for one hand and 1 for the other. You're dual wielding them. This just means that whenever you have 1 stack of tenacity blessing, or per stack of tenacity blessing, you're getting 200 base trauma, which is insane. So that's the minimum. You need these 2 weapons, and they're about 80 FE each, so about 160 FE, 150 FE, because I've seen some for 70 and for 60 as well, so somewhere within that range of 150-ish FE. And then you need, not this rain, this is a 600 FE rain, but you need at least a max tenacity or max agility stack, just 1. You don't really need 2 on 1 rain, right? Just get started. Something like this, my other rain, 1 tenacity stack, and then the other necessary mod that you need is agility blessing per 2 meters you move. This is a very consistent generation of agility and tenacity stacks. So you need a +1 with agility blessing per move, and then another +1 that can have anything else on it. Fervor effect is good. Mods that give fervor per damage or damage per fervor are good. Just anything, right? Is good. So you want these, right? So +1, you're just, it's very straightforward, the gearing. You get these 2 axes, and then you stack as much tenacity as possible and get res where you can, right? So on my chest, I have a tenacity stack. I have just 1 right now. You can corrode for 2. I tried to corrode, obviously. We have Fist taken as fire, which is great for being tanky. Physical damage, life, erosion res enchanted. You want to get this helmet. This helmet is great if you're concerned about single target damage, which I have not been. I think I've done T8 trav with this helmet on easily. You can get an affliction effect and crit damage helmet, especially with Warlock. This is very good, and you can swap it on. Obviously, I'm a crazy person. Even though I don't helmet swap, I have a helmet to swap in case I would want to. So I have my helmet swap. This just gives, in case you don't know about this helmet, this is a great helmet. It gives you a chance to explode enemies for erosion damage equal to 25% of their max life. It is very good for clear. It's just an excellent clear helmet. Second, another thing that's purely for clear, but is very good and makes it feel great, is a Sunset Ripple. All of these are cheap items. This Kraken helmet you can get for around 20 to 30 FE. This Sunset Ripple It's probably somewhere around 15 if you want to get a 2% one, which you should, right? So that's about 35. This is about 150-ish. These probably maybe like 5 FE each for the reins, maybe 10. So I would say on the high side, 20 FE total for the reins, 150-ish here, and then 35-ish here. And then I paid like 20 for this base, and then these gloves, which are allow you to use your Demolisher charge on crit. And this important line here, you don't need to get them corroded. I paid 50 FE for the corrosion, but you don't need them corroded. It just gets stacks wherever you can, right? So this is a little bit upgraded from the base pair, right? But this is the important line here. Gain Demolisher charge on critical strikes. This makes sure your fissure is always going off. Now the second line, critical strike damage is set to 117. You might ask yourself, with Warlock, with the crit damage being applied to ailments, does this affect that? It does not. So you can keep stacking crit damage and still get ailment damage from it. This does not affect that. And then boots, about 35 FE for an uncorroded pair here. I'd say all in all, in terms of minimum budget, you don't really need the boots, right? And this belt doesn't really do anything. It's just a res belt. You don't need the boots. You can drop one tenacity stack here or there and have a different pair of boots on, like I don't know, like a res pair or something to start with or something. But we're looking at I'd say minimum. I mean, I'm looking maybe 300 to 500 FE ish to get started. Like the bare minimum is you need to have some sources of tenacity stacking, and you need you definitely need the 2 weapons. That's where all your damage is coming from. So that's sort of like the minimum budget. And then if you want to increase the budget, it's very straightforward, right? Get tenacity wherever you can. If I'm increasing the budget, I can corrode a pair of these. And these are like, what, 500 FE or something, 800 FE to get a second stack here. You can double corrode your hunting blades, because instead of getting a chance to deal double damage, you can get a tenacity stack. I think generally maybe this is worth it. I wouldn't give up all my double chance, but maybe on at least one of them I would go for a double corrode. Amulet. Any amulet swappers? Get an affliction effect amulet. Ideally with base trauma. This one doesn't have it, and you can swap your amulet in for bosses. I have never swapped my amulet in for a boss. I've done T8. I've done Lawbearer. I'm probably gonna do Uber Keegan with this Sunset Ripple on. Okay, so I don't change this ever, but you can if you want, if you feel like you don't have the damage. So yeah, minimum budget 300 to 500-ish FE to get started. That's including the memories, by the way. These are each like 10 to 12 FE. They're all the same, I think. 6% additional damage taken and cooldown recovery speed. You need cooldown recovery speed so that your realm is constantly going up, because we're very realm dependent. These are all the same. Yeah, they were about 10 to 12 FE each, so maybe 30 FE here, and then 20 FE for this. This is more DR inside the Divine Realm, which is where we want to be when we're dealing damage, and 2% additional damage for every stack of Blessing. Currently we have about 22 stacks of Blessing, so it's 44% additional damage. It's a huge modifier. Okay, so let's talk about the hero trait a little bit. Or let's end that part of the video. Okay, so that's the budget, right? You're starting 300 to 500-ish FE. You can get this character off the ground. It's not necessarily a starter, okay? It's not something you really want to start unless you have that minimum item requirement. Okay. Let's start now about going into the in-depth part of the video. If you just watched the first 18 minutes and you want to see, you know, how good is the build, how does it do in certain areas of content, and how much do I need to do it, you can stop right now. You've learned everything. If you want to know how the build works, how it functions, how the damage is being applied, and things like my talents, Divinity Slate, everything in depth, you can continue watching, okay? So, this is the second half of the video. I know, right? I spent 19 minutes talking about all this other stuff. Now we're going into the second half. This is going to be my big comprehensive guide. Well, guide, you know, my overview of it. So now we're going into the hero trait. Hero trait, your choices are Might Flow or Born Might. It just feels bad to have to manually cast, and this is more damage. Additional damage when the Define Realm is active, you get 24%. It just feels bad to manual cast it. If you manual cast it, you have a little bit more control, but I hate pressing the F key, and it's less damage anyway, so why would you do it? Okay, here's the important one. This is the most interesting one. Divine Realm Balancing. So we do degen when we're not in the realm because we have so many agility stacks, but it also makes us really fast. Like as you saw during the mapping, this is what makes us so good at speed, is that you're leaping extremely fast outside the Divine Realm. And then when you're in the Divine Realm, this is where we're getting a massive bonus. We currently have 17 stacks inside the Divine Realm of this, and that's minus 6%. 17 minus 6%. 17. Okay, so that's 60, and then that's 30. Wait, no, not 30. 42. If I'm thinking correctly. So, this is like 90 something percent. It's like an insane amount of additional damage or damage reduction, and then we're stacking even more damage reduction. Minus damage taken on these. When we're in the Divine Realm, when we're in our realm, when we're not realmless, we are very, very tanky. It's important to utilize this while mapping, right? If you see a bunch of scary stuff, get into your realm. Unless it's super duper scary, you have to sort of figure out yourself what you can and can't tank, right? But at this moment, with where I have to build at, I tank most things, right? There's a few things that are dangerous to tank, like multiple of the traveler shooty purple orbs that move horizontally, not vertically. The vertical ones I can tank all day. The horizontal ones, if I'm hit with several, I can die. But one I can tank, two I can tank. I think once we start getting into rapid succession, I die. But this is very good. That's all you need to know. The other one, I guess it's damage, but it just doesn't give you the speed and the defensiveness that this does. Then here we go, Incarnation of God. This means that when we're in the realm, we have 7% additional damage. And we have 17 stacks. It stacks up to 25 times. That's like 70%. A lot of damage. Like, it's more than that, right? it's like 149 or something. I don't know what it is, but it's a lot of damage. I'm kind of tired if you can't tell, but we're doing the guide. So you want this one to be in it and do a ton of damage. This is where you're doing your damage, right? Inside. Let me talk about the skills and what we're using. Okay. And the speed setup and the speed setup, we're using the 6-link leap attack. In the normal setup, which you're doing your general purpose TA mapping bossing, they're the same setup for both of those. You're going to want to 6-link your Groundshaker with, you want Ink Crit, you want Enhanced Ailment. I have them over here. So you want Ink Crit and Enhanced Ailment, and I generally swap out. Do I swap out Precision? I mean, you can run Precision if you want. Sort of the 5th slot is kind of like a flex slot for me. I always run Steamroll, Ink Crit, and Enhanced Ailment, but you might want to run, instead of Precision Strike, Cataclysm for Affliction Effect and Affliction Generation, especially if you don't have Precise Deep Pain yet, which you should get. It's very cheap. But we would run a 6-link Groundshaker most of the time with Warlock talent, and just a hardened buff leap attack with Precision Strike for more attack speed. And I like to run Deep Wounds on my leap attack for my 4th link, just to get more damage, because I'm leaping most of the map anyway, even in a T8. So that's how that works. We have Burst of Anger just for more attack speed. That's all it is. Life Source with Residues, Armor Infusion, Emergency Restoration, just to have a button. I mean, I press it, I kill things, I press it again. It's not really a reactive button. I just sort of try to keep it on. And then we have our Vulnerability Curse here. I have it on cost conversion because I'm scared that I won't be able to cast it sometimes. I have Abysmal Hatred and Terrain of Malice. I don't think I even need cost conversion on it. I just have it on just so I know it'll cast. This is just 20% additional physical damage. And this is obviously a trauma build, so it's all trauma damage, which is physical damage over time. So we have Precise Acuteness, very good. Gives you a bit of stuff. Weapon Amplification gives you attack speed. We have Restrain. We have Precise Deep Pain. We have cast on crit. This is very interesting. This setup really makes all the difference here. We have seal conversion, cast on crit, two scorching pulses, and a flame core to try to get as many reaps as possible. Right. This is 4 reaps. Right. This is what this represents, is that we get 4 reaps, and we want to reap. And then we have this big defensive setup here. Notice we only have 480 energy, so that's pretty low. I mean, you can get this pretty easily. Frost Shield, Stone Skin, Delayed Pain. If I wanted to run something like a Thunder Spirit, if you don't have a Restrain, right, you just want to run a Thunder Spirit, you take out the Stone Skin for Protective Field because it's a little bit better and a little bit more efficient. But I run Stone Skin, so I'm not running a Spirit Magus. So that's the skill setup. Let's move on to the talents. Now, the first 2 talents I'll talk about because you always go these talents, right? You never change these. So here's a Slow Pan of God of War. I'm going to do a Slow Pan. You can go for more life instead of the Void, but I like having a little bit of a Void. It's spicy. So, yeah, just get all the good stuff. I have 27 points in here, but you want to get the trauma first, right? You're leveling. Then you have Shadow Dancer. I have 39 points in this. Prioritize getting the skill cost here. Also, there's one change. If you're changing from the speed setup to the regular setup, and you're going Warlock, not Warlord, you want to get this crit damage, so it's because it's going to scale your ailment damage. Right now, we're not taking advantage of that, but in the normal version of the build, that's what you would do. Everything else is the same. So, here's Warlord. If you want to do this version of the build, right? If you just want to go for XP. Here it is. And then for the major talents in God of War, we're taking Brutality. Taking Instant Smash, which is great. Going into Shadow Dancer. Get Fervor to get crits. You need to crit. And get Open Wounds here. It's crit damage, which we make use of with Warlock. We make use of the duration no matter what, so it's good. And then a Warlord. We have Rock, which gives us 2 stacks, which is great. And then this doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything. Now for our thing, you always run a Reap Purification Pedigree. I haven't found anything better. It just does the most damage. Yeah, Reap Purification, the way Reap Purification works is that when it reaps, it removes the bleed, but it also does 80%. It does the reap duration, and then it does 80% of what's left over. So it's a lot of damage. It's a lot, because our bleed is something like 16 seconds or something when we crit. So this is a lot of damage. I have an Agility Blessing here. I have Agility and Tenacity here with Aura Effect. I have a Tenacity here with Skill Radius. I have Aura Effect and Trauma Damage and a Reap here. And I have just a damage generic thing here. In my opinion, on the new Thea versus the Rahan trauma builds, this it's not really worth going for order because you're so stocked up. Maybe if we could shrink these down and get them on corner pieces or stacks, but that's very expensive. So I guess that's a spot you could spend thousands of FE on. Okay, is getting our slate a little bit more optimized. But this is what I have right now. Not too expensive. I did find this one myself. Okay. This all 3-1. And then I will actually, because I'm such a good person, I'm going to reselect this talent panel. Okay. And I'm going to show you my Warlock. In case you don't know it, it's the same as it always is, but you go ailment. You want to get attack and cast speed. Get the mana. You want to get skill duration because it's very good for the Divine Realm. You want to get cooldown recovery speed. This is very good for the Divine Realm. You want to come up here and get damage, attack and cast, all skill level. I love just getting blur, so I get blur on defeat. I like to get elemental res because it's very tight on this build. And then we get life. And then for our last remaining 4 points, I think we have options between the crit and the ailment duration. I like to go the crit. So, and then you go Vile. This is a shit ton of damage. This is what gives us such an insane amount. 4.9 billion reaps right here. This is why, because when you crit, you get double duration, which you reap from, and you get additional ailment per crit damage. It's so good. And then off the beam track. So these are the Warlock talents that you would go when you're actually like playing, no? When you're not just going for XP. I mean, you know what I'm trying to say. And you know, that drops us down to 14 stacks. So you have 11 agility right now and 3 tenacity, and all that agility gets converted to tenacity when we're in a realm, so we'd have 14 instead of 13 or 17. So it's a bit less damage. Base damage, but it's a lot more total damage. And we're a little less tanky too. So that's why I wanted to get 2 more stacks on this before transitioning back into this version of the build. And we would, of course, change our links here as well to get a 6-link Groundshaker. So the playstyle is pretty simple. It's not a very button-intensive build. You leap. Anything that doesn't die, smack your Groundshaker on. Smack. And just try to stay in your realm when you need to do damage, right? When you really need to do damage, get in your realm. Hopefully you don't die in there. And you do that. So that's that. A little bit of info on the memories. These are the ones that I think are very good. Just these ones. I don't like running following because it just, I lose this while I kill things, right? I lose my tenacity blessing, and I mean it's really good on bosses, but I just don't like it for while I'm mapping. And I don't feel like swapping. so I'm not swapping. Anything else that I missed? Obviously when it comes to gear upgrades, just get tenacity wherever you can, right? Get the corrosions, get the very expensive rains, get at least 1 double corrode here, maybe on 1. I maybe wouldn't go for both, but maybe you can double corrode these hunting blades and get something nice. Get this corrosion here. That's the most important one for the gloves. Belt. Nothing really to talk about there. Trying to see if there's anything else to go over. I did skills, I did talents, I did gear. I sort of went in depth into how the build works a little bit. Like I said, it's damage over time. You're going for a massive reap to do tons of damage, and it's, by the way, this is the only trauma build that can do this as far as I'm aware. So this is the only build that can do this as far as I'm aware. That is trauma based on that ailment. It's very strong. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it's a long one, but if you have any questions, please ask. Feel free to ask your questions. I'll do my little spiel on Groundshaker because I had a question in one of my earlier videos. The way ailments work, the way trauma works, is that you have a base trauma, but it takes this weapon attack damage. Think of this as damage effectiveness from PoE. It says weapon attack damage, but it's 1196% weapon damage effectiveness for the attack. So this is applying to that base bleed, this fissure. When it consumes the demolisher charge, it does. 100%. It does. That's how it works. That's how it works in Season 1, how it worked in Season 2. It's how it works right now in Season 3 when I'm playing the game. So that's how Groundshaker works. It's the only viable trauma skill. The only one. It's the only one that can get you this big of numbers. and this big a bonks. Okay. Anything else to talk about? But I think in terms of upgrading, if you want to go more gear from where I'm at right now, it takes a lot of FE. I think I maybe spent like 1,500 on what you're seeing right now, and the minimum requirement is like 300 to 500, and then you can just spend thousands and thousands. Like I want to get an exquisite box, probably with defensive skill effect or something, or even in power I would go with, or maybe even restoration. I'm not sure, but I think they're all good. All the box types are pretty good for this build. Maybe not in power. I think actually restoration and defensive obviously being the best are great for this build. So I want to get a box to put in some of the Sunset Ripple. Anything else that is like super big? I think this is expensive to get this, but I wanted another expensive rain. It's like another 600 FEs, like 800 FEs, like 3k FE to do that, and then yeah. So and then that's not even talking about the slate, where you're seeing like 500 to 1k FE for the corners that we want, the corner pieces that we want, and all that shit. So you can easily spend like 10k plus FE on top of what I've spent currently on the build and keep improving it, adding more stacks and adding more and more stacks to the build is going to give you more damage, right? Because we're getting 100 that base damage per stack. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I think I'm going to do a lone XP grind on this. I don't know if it's the 97 or if I want to go for 100, but I think it'd be hilarious to go for 100 on this on this build, on this trauma build, and represent. So, thank you so much for watching. This has been my comprehensive season 3. This is the first time trauma's really been viable beyond, you know, not very juiced T8s, right? Like, I think the best trauma could ever do was not very juiced T8s, and it kind of struggled on T8 Guardians, and it struggled on T8 Traveler, like impossible T8 Traveler, and now I basically insta-phase him. So, th this is definitely a build that, for me, is it's my play style. It's fun to play. I love it. So if people want to give it a try, and you have those minimum items, I would welcome you to give it a try and tell me what you think. And if you have questions or you're confused about something, just ask me or come by my stream at twitch.tv/problematicboy, and I'd be very glad to help. That is Problematic Boy, YouTube. I'm going to sign out. Yeah, have a good one. Bye-bye.